North Korea, crazy leadership, threats of violence, nuclear bombs. Not much has changed since I was stationed there. When I was there, the 51st Fighter Wing had a motto, keeping you ready to fight tonight. But there's also a chapel there that I attended that had the motto, keeping you ready to pray today. I've been in the military for 7 years. I've worked as a contractor for the chapel, for a singles ministry. I've also worked with the youth group, and above all, I attended the worship service and was ministered to by the chaplain. So, overall, I want to inform you on how chaplaincies glorify God, whether it's through advising commanders on roles or ministering individually to service members through counseling, prayer, teaching, or even just talking. Chaplaincy has been around since July 29th, 1776. It was established by the Continental Congress shortly after General Washington had this to say about chaplaincy and its effects. The blessing and protection of heaven are at all times necessary, but especially so in times of public distress and danger. The general hopes and trusts that every officer and man will endeavor so to live and act as becomes a Christian soldier, defending the dearest rights and liberties of his country. Today, chaplains are still there for that purpose, but not as specific as making good Christian soldiers. Now their ultimate purpose is to make sure that every person has freedom for their own religion in accordance with the First Amendment. How they do this ranges from a very broad perspective. It's initially through commanders and advising them, and then it barrels down into actual service to the members. A few ways that the commanders are advised to: they have a very large group that they oversee or lead. It could be leaders of hundreds or thousands, so they need to have a handle on who's in their command and how they can accomplish the mission, since that's the main goal of the military. Chaplains rein that in and focus on the spiritual side, since there's spiritual, emotional, social, and physical aspects of mission accomplishment. And through the chaplains, commanders have insight into what's going on with the service members, what their religion means, what they actually need to be accommodated. Also, chaplains can just sit there and minister and give an ear to the commanders themselves, leading them to serve military members, whether they're leaders or subordinates, enlisted or officers. You know, when chaplains minister to members, they have two ways: direct and indirect support. Direct support is what you would most likely see on a day-to-day basis. On the civilian side, it would be the equivalent to Sunday morning service, whether it's teaching, worship, fellowship, anything like that. It also goes throughout the week, whether it's approving curriculums for small groups or picking contractors through interviews. Also have confidential counseling. It's the only 100% confidential counseling source on a base or a post. Brian Fox, a chaplain in the United States Air Force, told me during an interview, I provide spiritual counsel and privileged confidentiality. Whatever communicated between chaplain and counselee is never divulged without the counselee's express permission. On top of the counseling, they're also on call 24/7. They cycle through rotations just like military members on standby to meet whatever needs come up during that week or day. Also, bridging the gap between direct and indirect ministry, Chaplain Fox also had this to say. This does not always necessarily entail giving out spiritual counsel all the time, but simply being someone who listens, respects them as a uniquely created person. In my faith, one who is created in the image of God lets them know that I care and value them. Again, in my faith sharing, the love of Christ personally. This would be whether it's with a believer, Christian, non-believer, atheist, Muslim. That's the support they provide indirectly to all service members. The catch is, during the indirect support, all they have to do is provide a means and accessibility and a way for the person to express their freedom of religion and ensure their rights for the First Amendment. The indirect support does not mean that they compromise their faith or teach in contrast to what they were commissioned to do. So overall, I wanted to inform you and give you a little more inside track on chaplains and what they actually do, let you know how they minister and what their specific purpose is besides just teaching a sermon or shaking hands or praying at a retirement ceremony. Chaplains are religious leaders appointed by the government for the purpose of meeting service members and their families' needs through advising commanders, seeking counsel, or even worship services. The only difference is they're not the ones that fight, they serve and minister to those that do fight. If you could take anything away from this, it would be that chaplains serve those who serve, and they ensure the freedoms that the troops fight for are still part of their lives. Thank you for letting me speak, and you guys have a good day.